I think that the most difficult part about all of this, if there is a most difficult part, Russ, is that when this condo building came crashing down, their lives came crashing down with it. These family members don't have any heirlooms. They don't have any of their loved ones' photos. They don't have any of their loved ones' clothes. All they have are their names on that wall. Ask yourself, how would you feel if you saw your loved one's name on that wall? For one family member I met, he was in the Champlain Tower South on the night of the collapse. He never thought that kiss he gave his parents goodbye would be the last one he ever gave them. Sergio Lozano sold apartment 1003 in the Champlain Tower South just 6 months before the collapse that killed his parents, Antonio and Gladys, who still lived in the South Tower. None of them saw this coming.
No, we didn't have concerns. We never expected anything like this to happen.
Even on the night of the collapse, he was falling asleep on a couch in the South Tower.
We came to have dinner with them, and when it was 10 o'clock, I was starting to fall asleep. Hugged my mom, said goodbye, kissed my dad on the head. See you tomorrow.
A promise that he never knew he would not be able to keep.
At 122, when the building collapsed, when I look out, oh my God, the building isn't there. What do you mean? The building isn't there. What do you mean? My parents' apartment's not there anymore.
This image is what Sergio saw when he walked outside on his terrace, which has led to a year-long question. Did the city and county do everything they could have to prevent this from happening? And was the search and rescue mission as comprehensive as it could have been? I brought that question to the former mayor of Surfside, Charles Burkett.
There was absolutely nothing left on the field. Everybody did everything they could. I mean, obviously, it was a one-of-a-kind catastrophe, and I think that there was a steep learning curve. I think that our first responders are set up more for hurricane types of catastrophes and not sort of this type of catastrophe.
Burkett told me that sometimes the worst times bring out the best in people.
It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. The heroic efforts that were put forth by the first responders, the dedication, the compassion, the passion, the love. I mean, it was astounding.
You might be wondering, then, why did Sergio and his wife move out of the towers?
We have 2 little chihuahuas. This building over here did not permit dogs. So basically, because of our 2 dogs, my wife and I are still alive.
Just incredible hearing those words from Sergio. We are just hours away from the private vigil that will be held here at the site of the collapse. It will begin at 1:22, the exact time that the South Tower collapsed. Sergio Lozano, who you just heard from, told me that his parents always joked about not wanting to pass away before the other one, that if they left this life, they wanted to leave it together. And he told me even in death, they still got to live out their dream. For now in Surfside, Michael Hudak, Wink News. Just because they survived, just because they are not physically injured, that does not mean that they are okay, especially for the husbands who left town never to see the love of their life again. When 2 people exchange vows at their wedding, the famous words are, "Until death do us part." That one was your wife?
That's correct.
But these men say that's just not true. These husbands will never part from the love of their life, even after death.
I was on the phone with her at 1:30.
June 24th, 2021 will haunt Mike Stratton for the rest of his life. He was out of town on a business trip as the Champlain Tower South began to give way. His wife, Cassie, who was in their apartment photographed here on the 4th floor, called him.
She called me up and she said, "I think there's an earthquake." And she looked down the balcony and the pool area had kind of a sinkhole. And then the building started to shake, rattle, and she screamed, and then the phone went dead.
Cassie Stratton was 40 years old. Her husband, Mike, is only one of the husbands I met who left town before the collapse, never to see their wives again.
I was in Panama that day. I was visiting family in Panama. Oh.
Joseph Blaser Sr. was married to Elena for almost 30 years, a woman who escaped Fidel Castro's reign in Cuba when she was just a little girl.
It's been the worst year of my life.
I'm so sorry.
My life completely is a different life. I was very happy married with my wife. We were for 26 years.
It will never be until death do us part. For these husbands, like Kevin Spiegel, if you could pick up the phone and talk to your wife, what would you say?
I just fall apart. I wish, sometimes at night I'll sit and talk to her.
Even death could never make them part.
It's an image that left many people with chills. Look right here. You see these bunk beds at the top of the tower that collapsed 1 year ago today in Surfside. 98 people died in that collapse. Wink News reporter Michael Hudak is live right now in Surfside. And Michael, you spoke to a woman who used to stay in those bunk beds.
Nicole, good afternoon. So much has been shared here in Surfside this week. So much love, so many tears, and so many stories, including the story of this woman, Linda March, who was 58 years old when the condo collapsed. Little did all of us know that she was the face behind one of Surfside's most iconic images. Infamous, eerie, chilling. Those words scratch the surface of how to describe the tragedy of Surfside. Yes. After the collapse, this image burned in the minds of people around the world. Bunk beds, hanging on for dear life atop Champlain Towers after 98 people fell to their death. At 1:22 a.m., when the condo collapsed, this bedroom ripped open like a storybook.
I would actually stay in that bunk bed. It was the second bedroom.
Shoshana Bizuati knows that story. She told me while everyone assumed those beds were there for kids, they were not.
Linda March.
You knew her?
My friend from 28 years.
Shoshana's story is one of friendship, of a good, fulfilling life. The story of her best friend, Linda.
She just had moved in the apartment 3 months ago.
A New York girl who fell in love with Miami. When Linda moved into the Champlain Tower South, she put those bunk beds in her spare bedroom on the penthouse floor. Shoshana slept in the bunk beds several times a week.
That infamous picture with the white bunk bed. And that was her apartment. I will always remember her as my support, my friend, fun, and very kind.
She was on the phone with Linda the night before the collapse because the day of the collapse, June 24th, was also Shoshana's birthday.
It was my birthday, so we were just finalizing. Okay, we're meeting, at 7 o'clock at Levy's. See you there. See you there.
A dinner they never had. When this storybook opened, the story of their friendship closed with so many pages left unwritten. What would you say to her right now if you could talk to her?
I miss you. I miss you.
Shoshana, if you're listening right now, I want to wish you a happy birthday. When I asked Shoshana what was Linda's favorite thing to do, she said she wanted to travel to all 50 states. She never got the chance to do that. Shoshana is going to do it for her. She is making it her life mission to travel to the states that Linda never went to. And she told me, Michael, Lord knows, I won't stop until I get to all 50 states. In Surfside, Michael Hudak, Wink News.
When the collapse happened, the foundation of so many fell down with it. 2 different families lost mothers, changing their lives forever. Wink News reporter Michael Hudak is live in Surfside. And Michael, you spoke with some of those grieving families.
There is nothing quite like a mother's love. So when it is gone, yes, a piece of you is gone with it. That's what happened, Lois, when the Champlain Towers went down. Why don't you take a look at that sign? Take a good look. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters ripped away from their families. And what I have found since coming to Surfside is, without these amazing family members, especially the moms, these families are still lost. Judy was not just Rachel Spiegel's mom. She was so much more.
My mom was my person. You know, she was the person I shared everything with.
Judy was not just Kevin Spiegel's wife. She was so much more.
You know, we never thought, like, what do you mean, you know? Well, we just didn't. We were best friends.
A mother is the lifeline of a family. And without her, the pulse goes flat.
It's not the same. It's absolutely not the same. It's not the same for Rachel. It's not the same for Michael. It's not the same for Josh, for Sloan, for Scarlett. I mean, life for us is not the same. This has been the worst year of our life.
Judy Spiegel was 65 years old when she died in the Surfside condo collapse. And she wasn't just a mother, she was a grandmother. Leaving behind 3 beautiful granddaughters who she won't be able to hug at their graduations or embrace at their weddings.
That's the worst.
So those girls are young.
That's the hardest part.
Right.
It was hard this year to throw birthday parties and, you know, have celebrations like Thanksgiving, the holidays.
For Sergio Lozano, his mother and father, Gladys and Antonio, were more than just parents. They were both his heroes. But Mom will always have a special place in his heart.
It was a forever love story. They were migrants from Cuba. They knew each other for over 68 years. They met at age 12.
Wow.
My dad got out of Cuba before getting married, asked for political asylum here, saved up money, and sent for my mom. My mom came with her wedding dress because when you would leave from Cuba, they would take your things. So they wouldn't take her wedding dress. She wore it on the plane to get over here.
Because as you and I know, there's nothing a mother cannot or will not do. Sergio's mother, Gladys, said she did not want Sergio's father picking her up at the airport that day because she did not want him to see her in the wedding dress. As for the Spiegels, their home was completely broken, guys. So they went to the homeland. Kevin got the whole family together and they went on a collective birthright to Israel in Judy's honor because Kevin told me Judy used to say it yourself. In this life, home is where you make it. In Surfside, Michael Hudak, Wink News.
Chaos after a sudden collapse.
Half the building's gone. That building's an L. Okay. The whole this side right here, the thing came down.
Families feared for loved ones as the desperate search began.
They're all missing.
The stories of heartbreak remembered 1 year later.
When I look out, oh my God, the building isn't there. What do you mean? The building isn't there.
Dozens killed in one night.
We lost 100% of every single thing we had.
It's been the worst year of my life.
Now, families coming back together in Surfside to honor the lives lost.
And that was the last thing we said to each other, I love you.
And today we remember the 98 loved ones, friends, and colleagues who died when the Champlain Towers South partially collapsed.
Yeah, the tragedy 1 year ago changed our state forever. We News reporter Michael Hudak has been in Surfside for days now, speaking with family members whose lives were turned upside down. Michael, a lot of sadness there, but also a lot of strength.
You know it. You've heard the saying. It's not how you died, but how you lived that defines you. If there's one thing, Russ and Lois, that we have learned here in Surfside this week, is that no matter the circumstances, there is nothing that love and compassion cannot handle. And there is no one who embodied that more than this young man right here. Take a good look. Luis Bermudez Ortiz, a 26-year-old man with muscular dystrophy who never let his disabilities cloud his passion for life. We were here as his family came back to the site of the collapse where they lost Luis and their daughter Ana Ortiz for the first time since that fearful day in June. When you walk along the memorial wall at Surfside, all you see are names. 98 of them. Maybe you know their stories, maybe you don't. But you know they died in a way most people can't comprehend. And the collapse is on video for all of us to see. Alita Boswick told me she still feels so much pain over the brave soul she lost.
He was very handicapped, and Annie took very well care of him. And they just had the greatest relationship, and we miss him.
Luis Bermudez might have been confined to a wheelchair, but he wasn't defined by anything.
Very sweet. He doesn't talk too much.
Quiet.
He's very quiet, but he was happy. He doesn't feel like he has a disability. He was in her body. He was free. He was free.
The 26-year-old, nicknamed Luillo, suffered from muscular dystrophy. He and his mother, Ana Ortiz, lived on the 7th floor of the Champlain Tower South.
We lost 98 souls for negligence. That person needs to, or those person needs to become accountable.
In the year since the building collapsed, Luillo and Ana's family have done a lot. They've entered into therapy. They've become closer with God. What was it like walking up to the wall and finding their names? But they haven't done this.
I accept everything. I accept it. Now she's in heaven.
Our cameras were rolling as this heartbroken family returned to the deadly scene for the first time.
It was time me to come here, say goodbye. And right now I have peace.
Since Josefina cannot hug her only daughter and her grandson anymore, this will have to do. Knowing that he's at peace, she can be at peace, too. One thing that has helped Josefina find peace after such a tragedy is knowing that even in her grandson's death, he still left an incredible impact, and that wheelchair never stopped him from touching the world. In Surfside, Michael Hudak, Wink News.